Hello and welcome back to the Magnus Victory Show. With us today we have Kate Murphy, CEO of Play Magnus. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I thought we'd start off the day by talking a bit about the Blitz tournament after you've become the world champion of Rapid. That was some crazy days and you went right into Blitz. How did that feel, not having much time to decompress after that win?
Yes, really the Rapid Championship was, it took a lot out of me. I didn't know how to be ready for the Blitz, but somehow I just had to go there and do my best. So I didn't have any great expectations at the start, and my first few games were a little bit tentative. My first game against a young Russian Grandmaster was very difficult. I probably had a losing position at some point. And then at the end we both had very little time, pieces were flying, and I came out on top, fortunately. In the second game it was pretty even all along. And I just beat him in a drawn rook ending that he shouldn't by any means have lost. Then in the third game I played my good friend Laurent Fressinet. I played a bit of an arrogant opening against him, just to just for fun. I thought at that point we were so early in the tournament, so why not try and experiment a little bit.
And you train with him, right?
Yes,
yeah.
He was in my team before the World Championship, and also we had a training session earlier this year. I actually gained a pretty normal position, and then at some point he repeated moves once, and there was really nothing useful I could do to avoid it, so I repeated, and then he didn't want a repetition and a draw. He explained to me, well, he gave two different explanations afterwards. One, which was the most obvious one, was that he felt that I tried to humiliate him in the opening, so he just wanted to punish me. And the other one was that he didn't want the further humiliation of me stepping out of a repetition that's clearly disadvantageous for me and still winning the game. So the way the game went, it was a pretty normal position, but then he gained a passed pawn, which was initially quite strong, but I was able to control it and eventually surround it and seize it and win the game with my extra pawn. Mm-hmm. Then I won two very nice games in a row with white, and suddenly I was at 5 from 5 and at the top board.
How are you feeling at that point?
I was feeling better and better. Yeah. My play has started to flow. In the first couple of games I played very slowly, but after in the fourth and fifth game I played very quickly and very well. In general, it's a sign that you're playing well in Blitz when you're playing quickly, because if you spend a lot of time, then your brain is usually not functioning as well. You're not thinking as fast as you should. And Blitz is not supposed to be a struggle, it's supposed to be a free-flowing kind of game. Yeah. Then in the sixth round it was a draw with my friend Jan Nepomniachtchi. He played a kind of a ridiculous opening, but then I failed to punish him. He gained a slightly better position. He put a lot of pressure on me, both on the position and on the clock, but I managed to just defend and get into a drawn position after a while. So, it was kind of a premonition of what was to come, that he was in excellent form and would score a lot of points. Mm-hmm. so then I beat a Vietnamese player, Le Quang, in the next game. First I was a little bit better, then he was a little bit better, then I regained the initiative and had a very safe advantage where there was no chance of losing, but also very difficult to win. So I pressed for a long time, and we both had little time. I was playing partly to confuse him, partly with real plans. And then at the end, when he lost on time, my position was actually winning. I'd managed to trick him, but however, there had been 51 moves without any pieces captured or pawns moved. But there was absolutely no way he could know that, since in Blitz you don't write down your moves. And so he had to...
But you remembered this?
No, I had no idea. I only saw it afterwards. Since I checked the game with the computer, and at the end the computer is saying 0, 0, 0, and I was like, what? My position is completely winning. But then I saw, yeah, it's just because there have been 50 moves. So. But it was a good example of what you need to do, really. Just keep on fighting and outlast your opponents. When sometimes you cannot win cleanly, and then you just have to outlast them. Then came the tragic moment of the tournament for me, against a young Chinese player, Lu Shanglei, whom I've barely heard of. I've heard the name, but I knew nothing of the way he played. But considering that he had scored 6 points from 7 games against opponents who were all higher rated than him, he must have done something right. Initially he didn't confirm that that feeling, since he played pretty badly in the opening. I had an advantage of 1.5 minutes on the clock, which is a lot considering that we're playing 3-minute games, and a vastly superior position. And then I just made one careless move that exposed my king, and from then on he had initiative and he won the game. So that was
bit of a blow.
That was a huge blow. But then I finished the day nicely with 2 wins and a draw, and with 9 from 11, I was nevertheless leading the tournament.
And then preparing for the next day after such an intense day of so many games, what did you do to get ready for the next day?
I knew my next opponent was going to be Gerrit Meyer from Germany, who I knew from before was a pretty accomplished Blitz player. I played him many times on different internet sites. So I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I only tried to prepare a little bit for that game because I didn't know who else I was going to play. So I prepared a little for that game. I had a plan, then decided that plan was a bad one, played something completely different.
Before the game or during the game you decided that?
I decided during the game.
Okay.
And I got a slightly dubious position, but it quickly normalized. I felt that I was well on my way to outplaying him. Then I made one terrible decision, opening up the king side. And his pieces just came pouring in with lots of activity, and I was in huge trouble. And then at some point he made a mistake, and I exploited my only chance, which was to go on a long trick with the knight all the way to the queen side, attacking his weak pawn on a2. And fortunately for me, it worked, and I won the game. So for the rest of the day, I kept on playing some very strong opponents. I played Anand, I played Aronyan, I played Grishuk, I played Morosevic. Actually, those are the games that I drew on the last day. I drew those 4 games,
And then it was getting quite close at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I was that was okay by me. I was worse in most of those games, so I didn't object to drawing them at all.
Were you still feeling confident?
I felt that I was playing okay, but I was definitely feeling less confident by the fact that Nepomniachtchi was just winning every single game, which was incredible. I mean, you can expect someone to win a couple of games in a row, 3 games in a row, but he won 6 games in a row against very strong opposition. And some of them, like the one against Anand, just drove me completely crazy because he had a much worse ending, a rook ending, and then he managed to defend it very well. Then Anand, just went nuts and lost the game instead, which really annoyed me at that point. But I mean, what could I do? I didn't particularly lose my objectivity at that point. I knew that I had to continue to play relatively well. And actually, I thought I managed to play quite okay towards the end. Looking at my game in retrospect, I saw that I missed quite a lot. But
that happens when you're playing fast, I bet.
Yes, and what I learned from earlier Blitz tournaments is that it doesn't really matter so much if you're not playing that well, as long as you have the impression that you're playing well, and as long as your opponent thinks that you're playing well, then you might not necessarily have to make all the right moves. Well, that you're missing. They're more likely to blunder or not to take their own chances, basically. So, and then key was the third to last round against Mamedov. I was under huge pressure in that game. Then it became a time scramble in the end. We were both very low on time. I had a pawn down, but that wasn't really an important factor because the position was quite complicated at that point. I set a trap, he fell into it, and I won. Then I went over to watch Jan's game, and he couldn't beat Korbov from a very good position. It wasn't that easy to win, but he complained a lot about that game afterwards to me. But then I was again in the lead, and in the next game I would face another Russian, Sergei Yudin, who had done very well on the last day, but nevertheless it was someone I expected to beat, while Jan would play Aronian with black, a game I didn't particularly expect him to win. So then I was feeling confident. My own game went beyond my wildest expectations. I mean, I won in like 17 moves with black after he blundered. And then I could see in Jan's game he was being pressured with no particular counter chances, and obviously at that point I felt pretty good about my chances. And seeing as he blundered at the end and lost the game.
It increases the confidence.
Yeah, in the last game I was 1 point ahead of Nepomniachtchi and Nakamura. I didn't particularly need to do much, so I just played a very quiet game. And then at some point he went crazy and blundered a pawn, and then I thought, well, while I'm at it, I might as well win the game. So I wrapped up and won the tournament 1 point ahead of Nepomniachtchi and Nakamura.
So how does it feel now that you are the world champion and all 3 time controls undefeated, sir?
It feels very good, especially. So I felt that I managed to do very well in Dubai, especially in the Blitz. 17 from 21 is
incredible.
It's really a great score for me. My Blitz rating is now through the roof, and I have frequently, well, not frequently, but at least sometimes failed in shorter time controls before, and I've been able to show now that ability at slower time control often translates into
Quick thinking.
to quick thinking, and I'm very, very pleased with that.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Magnus.
Thank you.